Samary cottage gleamed with respectability beyond its short fence and dense banana trees, a sprawl of magnolia limbs over its pitched roof. What would she think now if she saw her son following this woman, the infamous Juliette Mercier? Juliette was shameful. She had no excuse. How dare she retreat in her listing mansion on the corner of St. Anne and Dauphine and nail boards over the windows, vanishing so totally from life that neighbors thought her dead and beat down the gate, and then to come racing toward them with an axe, her hair streaming like Ophelia, a gaggle of hens and a swirl of feathers screeching at her wake. She was not old by any means, had the slender figure of a girl at 40, hair of gleaming black, with skin so light she might have passed to the untutored eye, and rings on her fingers when she chose. It was outrageous, this waste of prime and property. But worst of all, it was the matter of her son, Christophe. He was the one whose name was on everyone's lips these days. Gone to Paris years before, he was now a famous man. His essays and stories had appeared in the Paris press, along with colorful accounts of his Eastern travels, reviews of the theater, art, music. And his novel, Nuit de Charlotte, had taken the city by storm. He was a dandy in dress, veritably lived in the cafes of the Rue Saint-Jacques, surrounded eternally by exotic and scribbling friends. He might have buried his past had he chosen, but he did not. In this or that notice or article, there appeared the fact that he was a native of this city, that he was a man of color, and that he had a mother residing here still. Of course, he was in Paris. He drank champagne with Victor Hugo, dined with Louis Philippe. White women were seen occasionally to draw back the curtains from his high windows on the Ile Saint-Louis. He sent home trunks to vanish through his mother's gate, and she, unkempt, distracted, wandered to market with her black cat in the rich and ragged costume of a beggar at the opera. Christophe was 14 when he left, and people argued about the rest, some saying he boarded in England for a while, others that no, he went to Paris. But one thing was sure, that at 16 he had run away to Egypt, wandered through Greece, and returned to Paris in the company of a wealthy Englishman, white of course, to become an artist. And they said Juliette drank sherry and fell to merely watching the rain. The boys Marcel's age were on fire for Christophe. Sternly forbidden to go near his mother, they nevertheless lingered at her gate, hoping to put but one question, and always in vain. Occasionally there was an uncle or brother home who had, in fact, drunk with Christophe in some crowded cafe, and then the rumors went wild. Christophe smoked hashish, talked in riddles, could be seen quarreling in the streets, drunk for 24 hours at a stretch. He talked to himself and sometimes fell into stupors, and that Englishman, white of course, would carry him home. Marcel worshipped him, and those who watched his recent wanderings wondered if it were some mad emulating of the famous man that sent Marcel off the track. Christophe set the other boys on the straight and narrow when they thought of him. In the scattered private schools around town, they strove tensely, the lessons expensive, the classes select. They must be educated when they step off the boat. They had to be men. That Marcel would make the journey to Paris, that he would have his chance, all that was certain. A promise made by Monsieur Philippe at his birth was the guarantee. But Marcel daydreamed in class, provoked the teacher with obscure questions, and the sight of his empty chair a dozen times in the last month filled everyone with a vague dread. He seemed privy to some terrible secret that set him apart, and bound to calmly pursue his course, which this morning seemed hell-bent for disaster. Juliette was slow, if not languid, as she walked, fantastical, her frayed shawl a blaze of peacocks and silver against her red silk dress, her fine brunette hair falling in hopeless tangles from the grip of a pearl comb. Someone had a hold on Marcel's arm, but he merely flinched, stiffened, and let his eyes grow wide again. Diamonds sparkled on the fingers of her right hand with which she gathered her skirts at the curb, and Marcel could see the flash of the gold loop in her ear. Someone was trying to